Have you ever dated someone who seemed perfect on paper? The chemistry was there, but emotionally something just didn't click? Like they cared, but you never quite felt understood. Or it was exciting, but that bond, that real connection, and you know what I mean when I say real connection, it was just kind of just non existent. That disconnect isn't always about attraction, it's about emotional rhythm. And in astrology, that rhythm is found in the relationship between your Venus and your moon. So, in this video, I'll be discussing the relationship between Venus and the moon and what it says for the emotional component of your relationships. So, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new around here, hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and sound therapist, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you're new, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So today's video is all about Venus and the moon and what it says about the emotional components of your relationship. Now, if you were to open YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, so many people are talking about relationships and emotions seem to be missing from that. People don't want to feel emotions, they don't want to deal with them. They just want everything to be either sparks flying, looking good on paper, or whatever they can get from another person. Now, I'm not here to pass judgment on what your idea of a successful relationship is. All I know is that relationships indeed have an emotional component, and ignoring it is not going to make your relationship any better. So, when you understand Venus and the moon, you understand that emotional component. And you can decide whether you want to fuck with somebody or not based on the emotional compatibility between the two of you. All right. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this topic. So, of course, to begin, I'd like you to think about and meditate on this core idea. Your moon shows how you need to be loved. Your Venus shows how you give love. True compatibility happens when those two energies feel safe together. Your moon governs emotion, comfort, and safety. Your Venus rules romance, pleasure, and affection. And when they align, love feels effortless. When they clash, it can feel like you're always missing each other's cues. It's so interesting because, again, I feel like people seem to really devalue emotions in relationships. If you're overly emotional, if it's a problem. If you're not emotional enough, it's a problem. And often it starts with people not understanding their own emotions. Emotions can be very complex, right? It can be a realm that we don't often like to visit because it can be triggering, it can be hurtful, it can be arduous. But again, when you know your emotional blueprint, which is everything having to do with your moon, it adds that layer of understanding to relationships that can have you saying, oh, this makes sense now, right? I see why they're acting this way, or I see why they get worked up when I do this. So it's not just about Venus being relationships and, oh, this is how I attract and this is my type and all of that. Okay. How do you emote in relationships? I think that that is a very major component of relationships. And again, when you know better, you do better. All right. So let's start off by element. Okay. This is essentially your emotional language in love. So let's say you have a fire moon or Venus, which means that your moon or Venus is in Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. Okay. You're passionate, you're expressive, and you need excitement to feel alive. The emotion that overwhelmingly consumes you is passion and excitement as well. You guys need the sparks. And it's not to say that, the sparks just occur in the beginning of the relationship and then they fizzle out, although that could be the case. But for you guys, you need a steady burn. You need a steady flow of passion, and that shouldn't be ignored. And if you find that you're with somebody or you're dealing with somebody who cannot provide that or who doesn't know how to provide that, then that clues you in as to, okay, maybe this isn't what I need to feel okay in relationships. I can either express this to them and we can work on working around that, or I can say, this person isn't for me. Okay. Next, let's say you have an Earth, Venus, or Moon. This denotes steadfastness, loyalty. You guys show love through reliability and presence. So, being stable, being secure, being grounded, rooted, realistic, that's where your emotions live, right? And it's not to say that you don't emote, it's that perhaps sometimes stability and security take precedence over fear or sadness or any of the other emotions, right? However, that reliability through presence can be very emotionally satisfying to partners, right? Because sometimes, have you ever been in a situation where, you were feeling something? Maybe you're feeling sad, maybe you are crying or something like that, and someone is there and they're not even saying much. They're literally just there. Sometimes you just need presence. And Venus and Moon Earth signs really tend to give that. And so that's an important thing to keep in mind. Next, let's say you've got Venus or the Moon in an air sign, which would be Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. You're communicative and curious. You form bonds through conversation and laughter. You guys need to talk. You need to speak. You need to laugh. You need to be curious. You need to be mentally stimulated, right? Now, I want you to notice a theme, especially if you have been watching this series. A lot of this information overlaps. So, even though we're talking about Venus and the moon, we could be talking about any planet in an air sign, and it would always default back to communication and curiosity and conversation, right? So, understand that when we talk about the elements of air, we're talking about those characteristics, and those characteristics can apply to any planet, any aspect, anything really that is involved or that carries that air energy signature. Okay. But back to what I was saying, to feel emotionally satiated in relationships, you guys need communication. You need curiosity. You need laughter. You need these things, emotionally speaking. Next, let's say you have Venus or the moon in a water sign, which would be Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. You're intuitive and nurturing. And you, above all of the signs, need emotional depth and reassurance. That bond, that tie between you and someone else, where you can be free to feel how you feel at any given time, where you can express how you feel or make someone feel something. That's a flip side of the coin that doesn't get talked about enough. We talk about water signs as being emotional, but part of that emotional nature is making people feel things, right? Now, whether the person receives it or not is a different story entirely. However, emoting and making people feel things is definitely a part of your energy signature. All right. So don't suppress those things. And when it comes to understanding your emotional nature, you not only need to lean into it, you need to own it, right? It's okay if you're overly emotional, if you cry a lot. It's okay if you don't cry at all. It's okay if you were designed to be present as opposed to being touchy feely. Whatever your emotional signature is, whatever your emotional blueprint is, own it. Understand it and own it so that you can't have someone shaming you for it or someone trying to change you. This is when relationships get really difficult because you may know your emotional blueprint, but someone is like, well, I need you to be more emotional. And maybe you're not designed for that, right? And that is okay. Know yourself and own yourself. All right. So now let's talk about when Venus and the moon are aligned, okay? Perhaps they're in the same element or they are compatible, right? Like earth and water or fire and air. So when you have this compatibility, right, between Venus and the moon, there's natural understanding. You feel seen, you feel safe, and you feel emotionally fulfilled. Okay. So, for example, let's say you have a Cancer moon with a Pisces Venus. These are two soft, empathetic energies that flow together. Now, I'm talking about this in terms of your natal chart. So, if you've got Venus in an air sign and the moon in an air sign, or Venus in a water sign, the moon in a water sign, right? They're compatible. This is where you have soft, empathetic energies that flow together. Okay. So now let's talk about when Venus and the moon are in tension. So this could be if they are square to each other or they are opposite to each other, right? It's a harsh aspect. These can create emotional mismatches, all right? You might love each other deeply, but it just doesn't click. Okay, so for example, you have a Leo Venus that wants grand gestures, and then you've got a Scorpio moon that craves quiet emotional depth. Both care, right? They just speak different love languages, but struggle to show it in the same way. Okay, now this could be within yourself, or it could even be in terms of synastry. Let's say you have Venus in Leo, Moon in Scorpio, right? That is wanting to, you attract love that is, grand gestures and drama and main character energy. But to feel emotionally satisfied, you need that quiet depth. So that could be within yourself, or it could be in synastry. That person has a Venus Leo, you've got a Scorpio moon. All right. It operates in the same way. So it doesn't mean that the person doesn't care. They just show it and express it in a different way. All right. Now let's talk about in synastry. Now this is between two people, right? And again, doesn't have to be romantic. It's just synastry charts. You do them between two people to show and learn more about any relationship. All right. So when one person's moon connects with the other person's Venus, there's instant emotional rapport. It feels like home, like you can just be yourself. Now, in this situation, hard aspects, which can be conjunctions, squares, and oppositions, they can still work. They just require awareness and emotional translation. They just require intention, like I've been saying. All right. Venus and the moon together teach that love is both a feeling and a language. And the best relationships learn how to speak both. That's definitely something to think about. It's not just about, like I've said before, compatibility is either yes or no. There's a lot of gray in there, and it's about intentionality. But the purpose of this video is that when it comes to Venus and the moon, it's not just about your attraction style and all of that stuff. It's about your emotional satisfaction and your emotional compatibility. And those two planets, whether in your natal chart or in your synastry chart with you and someone else, definitely demonstrates and details that. All right, so now let's pause for a brief moment of reflection and self-inquiry. So here's your reflection for today. Does your love language match your emotional needs? Or are you giving what you wish you received? Food for thought, right? Awareness of your Venus and your moon helps you love and be loved in ways that actually nourish you. Emotional nourishment is key, and it's something that we shouldn't sidestep or overlook in relationships. So take a moment to think about that, reflect on it, and maybe even journal about it. If you're ready to explore how your Venus and moon work together and what that says about your emotional chemistry, then take the free seduction style quiz. All right, the link is in the description box below. You not only take the quiz, but you get a PDF guide that helps explain your archetype to a T. Okay. And if you want to start decoding your entire chart, then join the charted waitlist. That's where I teach you how to understand all your placements from the inside out. And again, the link to that waitlist is also in the description box below. And of course, you can always hang out with me in Cosmic Collective, where we explore relationship astrology every week during Cosmic Chemistry Fridays. I like to call it my open office hours. You can ask questions, we do case studies, we go deeper into the week's topics, and you can ask about your natal chart and commune with some great people. So if you're interested in joining Cosmic Chemistry, the link is in the description box below, or you can scan the QR code that is on the screen. All right, hopefully I'll see you in there. All right, my loves, that's pretty much all I've got for you for this video on Venus and the moon and what they can show you about emotional compatibility. All right. Now, I not only hope that this made sense, but I hope that you can help. I hope that it helped you understand not only yourself better, but your relationships and the importance of emotional compatibility within those relationships. And hopefully, you learned at least one thing that you can take with you moving forward to have successful relationships. All right. So join me tomorrow where we'll discuss Venus and Saturn and the lessons they teach us about commitment, loyalty, and timing. All right. So you definitely want to stick around so you don't miss that. So subscribe, set notifications, like, comment, share, because people definitely need to know this because the state of relationships right now, it's like a dumpster fire. The more that people can understand their emotional blueprint and their emotional compatibility, I think we'll all benefit from more successful relationships. All right, my loves, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.